Gypsy Rose went live with me.
Tell now.
Did she battle you?
No, we just had a good conversation. People kept being like, she wants to collab, and I'm like, Jeffree Star Cosmetics is not collabing with a murderer. We're not doing it this year.
Star goes in on you. I have not been the biggest Jeffree Star fan, but that right there was iconic. Okay, Jeffree, he said, I don't play with murderers, but I can play with your mom. Jeffree is so unhinged. Oh, baby. You can't tell.
Hey everyone, let us dive into a story that's been stirring up the social media waters and leaving a lot of people talking. You might already know the names involved, but the details, they've got some twists and turns you might not have seen coming. We're talking about the infamous beauty mogul Jeffree Star and Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the woman whose story once had the world feeling sorry for her. But now, let's just say Jeffree's been making sure Gypsy feels the heat in a way no one really expected. Now, for those of you who aren't fully up to speed, Jeffree Star was once one of the first big names to welcome Gypsy into the TikTok world. Remember those early days when Gypsy, fresh out of prison, was trying to carve out her space in the influencer world? Jeffree, with his massive following and brutal honesty, saw an opportunity to help her gain some recognition. He even engaged in a few TikTok live sessions with her. It seemed like a genuine moment, right? But things have taken a rather dramatic turn since then. Let's rewind a bit to a recent TikTok livestream where Jeffree was hanging out with a bunch of other influencers. It seemed like just another casual night with the typical banter and fan energy that usually comes with these types of sessions. But then out of nowhere, something unexpected happens. Gypsy Rose, the aspiring influencer, slides into the chat. Her comment? A request for a collab. Now, on the surface, this might seem like a simple, harmless message. After all, she's trying to get her name out there, trying to grow her own presence. But the way Jeffree reacted, that is where things started to shift. When he saw her message, he did not just ignore it or respond casually as you might expect. No. He paused. For a moment that felt longer than it probably was, Jeffree took a beat, clearly processing what he had just read. It wasn't just a random person sliding in. It was Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the woman whose story had once captivated the media and turned her into a viral figure. The same woman who had been the subject of sympathy from countless people due to her tragic past. But here's the thing, Jeffree did not see that sympathy. He saw an opportunity to make a statement. Rather than playing it safe, Jeffree, known for his blunt and often savage sense of humor, chose to tear into Gypsy with words that seemed designed to sting. In true Jeffree style, he did not hold back. He replied with, "Maybe I can collab with your mom."
Dear, look at the chat. Oh.
Who is it?
Gypsy.
Oh.
I'm a little busy tonight, though, but hopefully I can collab with your mother.
Whoa. Oh, dear.
Yeah, we can either do Uno or the Ouija board. You pick one. Uno, draw 4.
Typically the horrific crime she was involved in, where she planned to take her mother's life. That is the kind of raw, painful memory that Jeffree did not hesitate to bring up for the entire audience to hear. And Jeffree wasn't done here. He continued with, "How about we do an Ouija board session?" The suggestions were pointed, almost mocking Gypsy's past trauma. While it was likely a playful comment for Jeffree, the implications were far darker. Gypsy's past wasn't just a casual topic, it was a painful chapter for her life that people still found hard to ignore. Audience, however, was eating it up. Jeffree's fans seemed to find his ruthless humor hilarious. The chat was filled with laughter, people praising Jeffree for his brutal honesty. Clear that Jeffree's words were meant to put Gypsy in her place and remind her, and everyone watching, just how low he was willing to go to make this point.
Star goes in on you. I have not been the biggest Jeffree Star fan, but that right there was iconic. Okay, Jeffree, he said, I don't play with murderers, but I can play with your mom. Jeffree is so unhinged. Oh, baby. You can't tell me y'all ain't laughing.
For Gypsy, however, the comment wasn't just a joke. It was an intense public shaming that cut deep. It had to have been a painful reminder of her past mistakes, and there is a strong chance it made her reconsider her involvement in the influencer world. Did she really want to be associated with someone who would bring up the deepest parts of her life for entertainment? For Jeffree, it was just another opportunity to flex his online power. But for Gypsy, it was probably a moment that made her question her place in this world she was trying to break into. But hold on, this isn't the first time Jeffree has taken a swing at Gypsy. You might remember that last year, Jeffree appeared on the cancelled podcast hosted by Tana Mojo, and it was during this appearance that things took an even darker turn. When the topic of a potential collaboration with Gypsy came up, something that had been discussed before, Jeffree did not mince his word. He flatly stated that he wasn't interested, but it wasn't just a polite rejection. Jeffree did not stop there. He went on to say, with brutal clarity, that his makeup line doesn't collaborate with unalivers.
Gypsy Rose went live with me.
Tell now.
Did you battle you?
No, we just had a good conversation. People kept being like, she wants to collab, and I'm like, Jeffree Star Cosmetics is not collabing with a murderer. We're not doing it this year.
For anyone familiar with Gypsy's story, this was a direct reference to the tragic crime she had been involved in with her mother. It was a scathing remark, and it made it clear just how far Jeffree was willing to go in his public disavowal of her. This came after the two had shared a more positive interaction earlier on. Back when Gypsy had just gotten out of prison, she was still seen by many as a victim of her mother's manipulation and abuse. People, including Jeffree, were sympathetic toward her. They even shared live sessions on TikTok, and Jeffree offered sympathy and a makeup makeover, and they discussed the possibility of future collaborations. In fact, it seemed things were moving on in a positive direction. Gypsy and Jeffree exchanged phone numbers, and there was a talk about visiting each other. At that time, Jeffree seemed to be supportive of Gypsy's fresh start and offered to help her build her online presence.
Frankie!
These are freaking cool.
That was awesome. I know, this app has really wild gifts. The animations are just...
Thank you so much.
It's so fun learning because there's a lot to it, and it took me a minute to get the hang of it.
Yeah. And they're just so fun to watch, too.
They are.
So lively.
I get enamored with it.
I know. I do, too.
If you guys are new to TikTok or watching Gypsy, you guys see how it says 1.1 above or below my name? Those are how many people have tapped, or how many times our screen's been tapped. So when people double tap the screen, you guys, it does share out the live. TikTok pushes it to the top. And I have the most likes or taps on anyone's live ever. We broke all the records for the app. It was only like 2 weeks ago too, which is wild. Thank you. Yes, y'all, the iconic Gypsy Rose is in the building. Everyone send her a gift, say hi. Yes. Look at all the diva hats.
Wait, Jeffree, I got a surprise for you.
Oh, yeah. I gotta bring Laura.
I'm gonna bring our mom.
Oh my gosh, who is that sweet baby?
This is Aurora Grace.
Aurora, that is such a pretty name.
She.
Gypsy, I have 7 Pomeranians. I don't know if you saw that already. 7.
I was like, oh my goodness, I barely handle one.
Yes.
She's old. She's about 8 or 9 now. So
Yeah, my oldest is 9.
she's not old, but
Yes, Karen, thank you. Everyone's sending Gypsy gifts, thank you. Tell your sister you're the gift queen now. Look how many gifts she's gotten, over 100K.
I gotta get on here.
No, my friend really does make a living. She battles and goes live every day on here. I mean, 7 days a week. People, like, not everyone can do that, but that's her. Like, she makes 6 figures every month on here. It's wild.
But as time passed, that initial warmth started to dissipate. It did not take long for Gypsy's story to shift in the public eye. The truth about her relationship with her mother and the circumstances surrounding the crime began to surface more fully. People started to see her less as a helpless victim and more as someone who was deeply involved in the crime that shocked the world. This revelation began to sour her public image, and with that, Jeffree's interest in collaborating with her also faded. Fast forward to another live session, and Jeffree was taking jabs at Gypsy once again. This time he was casually shopping as Target, but even in that mundane setting, he couldn't resist taking another shot at her. He joked about her not unaliving the next one, referencing her crime again. This wasn't just a lighthearted quip, it was a jab at her past, one that had already been publicly scrutinized. And for Gypsy, it was yet another painful reminder of the image that was following her around, one that she couldn't escape. By this point, any goodwill Jeffree may have been toward Gypsy had evaporated. The relationship between them had turned sour, and it was clear that Jeffree wasn't interested in repeating it. What had started as a potential collaboration turned into a full-blown public humiliation, with Jeffree now mocking Gypsy for the very thing that had initially made her a controversial figure. For Gypsy, this was a bitter pill to swallow. He had once thought that she had a chance at redemption, at a second shot of fame, and a new identity in the world of social media. But with Jeffree's remarks, it felt like she had been forced to relive her past in a way that made her look even worse than before. So, what happened? Why did Jeffree flip so drastically from supporting Gypsy to openly mocking her? Was it a case of personal betrayal, or was it simply a matter of public perception? Whatever the reason, the change in Jeffree's tone from offering support to completely distancing himself shows how quickly public opinion can shift, especially in the influencer world. And it also highlights how Jeffree isn't afraid to use his platform to bring people down when he feels it's warranted, even if it's at the expense of someone else's dignity. Why is Jeffree doing this? Why has he suddenly shifted into a more aggressive stance against Gypsy, especially after they had moments of mutual support? It is hard to say for sure, but there are several layers to unpack here. When Gypsy first got out of prison, many people saw her as a victim, a young woman who had endured years of abuse at the hands of her mother. Her tragic story caught the public's attention, and for a while, there was a certain amount of sympathy surrounding her. It seemed like Gypsy was finally getting the chance to live her life outside the constraints of her past. That sympathy gave her a platform, and with that platform came a bit of fame. She was recognized not just for her crime, but for the narrative that had been built around her, one of survival. Influencers like Jeffree, who are no strangers to navigating the online world's unpredictable nature, saw this as an opportunity to boost their presence while helping Gypsy to do the same. It's not uncommon for influencers to use their power to help elevate others, especially if those people have compelling stories. However, things did not stay rosy for Gypsy for long. As time passed, more details of Gypsy's life began to emerge, details that painted a more complex picture of her relationship with her mother. The narrative of Gypsy being a helpless victim began to unravel. Reports and public sentiment revealed that her relationship with her mother wasn't as one-sided as people initially thought. In fact, some of the things Gypsy had said about her mother and the situation came under scrutiny, and the sympathy began to fade. The public started questioning the version of events that Gypsy had presented, and with that, her image began to change. This shift likely influenced how people, including Jeffree Star, perceived her. Once this truth about her past started coming to light and the public narrative shifted, Jeffree may have seen a chance to jump in and make some harsh comments, knowing it would generate buzz. It is the same strategy that many influencers use to stay relevant in an ever-changing landscape. The more controversial the moment, the more people talk about it. It's possible that Jeffree was not only making jokes at Gypsy's expense, but also intentionally poking fun at her downfall for his own benefit. With her public image in decline, Jeffree's jabs were just another way for him to remain in the spotlight. The more he engages with the drama, the more his name stays in the conversation. And let's not forget that Jeffree is no stranger to controversy. He's built his brand on being unapologetically bland. So it seems natural for him to continue using this platform to make bold statements, even if it means stepping on others to do so. So what do you think? Does Jeffree Star's treatment of Gypsy Rose go too far, or is it simply part of his brand? Is he capitalizing on Gypsy's fall from grace, or is this all just part of the wild and unpredictable nature of internet culture? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear what you think about Jeffree's treatment of Gypsy and whether or not you think the actions are justified. Do not forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on this ongoing drama. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning.